Welcome to this program. This program is all about personalities. We invite personalities and we talk about their profession and how have they achieved and accomplished many things in their career. So today's guest is a data scientist. Now, since the data science is one of the growing fields of career options, as it pays a handsome salary and fabulous perk and enables growth opportunities. But how it happens, we will get to know today's guest, Mr. Sachin Kumar, an experienced data scientist, earlier worked with big giants like IBM and Mckinsey. Currently, he has his own startup focusing on data science teaching to students and even professionals, corporate leaders. So, welcome, Sachin, to this program.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you for having me here.
Sachin, would you like to say something more in your introduction?
So, Dinesh, you summarized well. What I'd say is, I spent about 18 years of my life in the corporate world and primarily in data science and analytics. I just happened to get into analytics after my MBA. And since then, I loved analytics and stayed with it and worked with various organizations in different industries. I was fascinated by how we could utilize data and systematic method of deriving insights from data in order to help businesses, right? Also now, recently there have been many advances in analytics and data science. Now you have, rapid advances in computer vision and in NLP. Everybody is now talking about chat GPT. People are even saying it will replace, there's no need for doing home assignments now because chat GPT will do your assignments and so on, right?
Yeah.
So it has been a fascinating journey, and very happy here to share my experience with everyone on your show.
Great. Amit, I would start by asking some of the fundamentals about data science and data engineering. In fact, some of the misconceptions, let's say. Okay, people do get confused with data science and engineering. Often they treat data science as one stream of science, okay, not engineering. So would you like to say something about the difference between data engineering, if there is data engineering, or should we consider data science as data engineering?
Yeah, very relevant question, right? So data science, the term itself was coined about 10 years ago, right? So it's not a very old discipline and it's still evolving. So there has been no straightforward boundary as to, this is what you consider as data science, right? Different, academicians are defined it differently. Industries, the way they are using data science, they define it differently. So 10 years ago, when data science was defined, it was a very niche thing, right? And that is why, these people were termed scientists, because data science was a relatively new discipline. It required people to do a lot of data gathering, munging, cleaning, and then doing analysis and maybe building models. And every time, when they did these things, many of the things have to be done from scratch, right? So it involved a lot of research. And that is why the term scientist was used when people worked in this discipline, right? That is why the word data science or data scientist came in. Over the years, over the last 10 years, what has happened is organizations have understood that it is, one person doing everything is just not feasible, right? There are very few people like that in the world who can do everything end-to-end in data science. It has become more and more specialized, especially with newer and newer tools and algorithms and so on coming in. So that's where I think about 4 or 5 years ago, roles became more and more specialized. That is where these terms like data engineers, machine learning engineers, and data scientists were kind of created to identify the difference in the kind of work people, right? So focusing specifically on data engineering and on data science, what I would say is data science focuses more on the analysis of data itself, right? So it will require cleaning of data, cleaning of large volumes of data, analyzing that data, building models, and for that it is important to understand machine learning algorithms and probably the mathematics behind those algorithms as well, and building a system which utilizes ML in order to take certain decisions or maybe provide insights, right? So that is the role of data scientists. What data engineers do is the work prior to what data scientists would do, right? So they are responsible for maintaining large architectures, build data pipelines, manage warehouses, and so on, right? So in a sense, the data engineers' work feeds into data scientists' work, right? Also, what happens sometimes is data scientists will develop certain algorithms and systems in certain programming languages, usually in Python or R. And these programming languages are not very efficient. So when this has to be put into production, data engineers again come in where they will recode that, whatever the code is written into a fast and efficient programming language like C++ or in Java and put that into production, right? So that's the difference. In most organizations, data engineers and data scientists work in tandem. They usually work very, very closely. And every organization has understood the need for both data engineers and data scientists. Typically in a big organization, there will be kind of maybe a 60-40 or a 70-30 split between data engineers and data scientists, right? So more data engineers are required for the work versus data scientists. Okay. If someone has to choose between these two fields, I would say if you are more mathematically bind, right? So you like maths, or you feel you have a passion towards things like calculus and linear algebra and machine learning and so on, then data scientist is a good fit for you. But if you love more of programming and making systems efficient, and you love more of computer science and handling big data and data warehouses and so on, then data engineering is something that you'll enjoy more. Hopefully that covers the differences, Dinesh.
Yeah. You've made it clear. Yeah, of course, data engineering requires more of informatics background, where all those technologies come into picture. If I summarize what you just now said, and data science, on the other hand, requires some mathematics and some a strong foundation of mathematics and some programming language and some branches coming out of mathematics like machine learning and artificial intelligence, etc. Yeah. Okay, I have been hearing data science for last quite some time, quite some years, and all of a sudden data science is is mushroomed everywhere. All universities designing courses, UG, PG courses, different specialization program on data science. So what you see where this is going in next 10, 15, 20 years? I mean, if a student, if a youngster who just now passed, came out of school, and then thinking about making a career in data science, will his future be secured for next at least 15, 20 years? I mean, how far can you see data science goes with its all the characteristics that we defined it with in current date?
Yeah, so this is a question I get very, very often, right? And not just from youngsters, but also from fairly experienced people who are interested in transitioning into a career in data science. And everybody is, of course, wants to understand if this is a buzzword that will go away or will it continue, right? But I have been in this field, as I said, for over 15 years now. And I, from my experience can say it is only going to grow from here, right? There are three secular things that will fuel and accelerate this growth, right? The first one is data, right? So we are generating more and more data every day. Okay, there are, we are building smart systems. As an example, a car 10 years ago didn't capture any data, right? But look at the cars and bikes and so on today. There are onboard computers, what are called as ECUs, which capture vehicle information, vehicle performance, and so on, right? Most of them are now also have an onboard GPS and so on. Similar is the case with many other things, right? We have now, many different smart devices, use of cell phone, social network, IoT devices, Industry 4.0, and all of these things, right? All of this are generating enormous amount of data, right? And generating that data has become very cheap and ubiquitous, right? Every system is now generating data. So that is one secular trend. And it's only going to increase, right? Over time, these things will only increase. We now have smartphones and smart watches and so on. Very soon we may have smart glasses and maybe smart t-shirts and all those smart shoes and whatnot, right? So all of this will continue. So that's the first secular thing. The second secular thing that has happened is with the advent of cloud, storing data has become very cheap, right? So 10 years ago, storing 100 GB of data costed a lot of money, but today storing 100 GB of data, it's Gmail gives you free 100 GB of data, right? Or maybe now they are also looking at giving you 1 terabyte of data. Similarly, your iPhone and Android devices and so on. So data storage, not only for consumers, but also for enterprises, have become extremely cheap, right? So all the data that is now generated can be stored and be mined, right? Earlier, it was not possible to store all of that data. So a lot of data would have to be thrown away, and only very useful data was kept in servers within campuses, in companies and so on, right? But now with cloud, no more requirement of every company to have their own servers and manage their servers and so on, right? You put everything on the cloud and it's very cheap. So that's the second secular thing that has happened, and this trend is going to continue, right? We have heard about this Moore's law, which says every 18 months, the number of transistors doubles in a chip, right? And with that, what happens is the price of memory also goes down, right? So every probably 2 years or so, the price of memory becomes half, right? And that has been happening. So storage becoming cheaper and cheaper, right? The third secular thing that has happened is a lot of research around interpreting this data, analyzing this data, and machine learning algorithms to make sense of these data and automate systems to take decisions, right? So a lot of research have gone by in the last 7 to 8 years. See, machine learning and deep learning hasn't been new, right? They have been there since 1960s and 70s. So AI has been there, but in the last 8 or 10 years is when really a lot of people have put in, their research efforts. It's not just the universities, but also many organizations like Google and Yahoo and Facebook and Uber and whatnot, right? All these companies have tremendous research facilities, and they have put in a lot of effort. They've also come up with many of these, they have open sourced their things, like Prophet from Facebook, or PyTorch and all these from Facebook, and similarly Google's TensorFlow and Keras and so on, and many of their algorithms as well have made open source, right? So, and that trend is only going to continue as the amount of data increases and storing it becomes cheaper, we'll have more data, then we'll need, more intelligent algorithms in order to analyze that data, and that work is happening as well, right? So there are these three secular things because of which data analysis and data science is only going to become more and more important, right? Also now, we have reached a point where everybody expects things to be smarter and smarter, right? Nobody buys a feature phone these days. Everybody will buy a smartphone. Similarly, probably watches, the regular analog watches are going away. Everybody wants a smartwatch so that they can track, how they sleep and how much they exercise and things like that. More and more smarter things will come in, right? Which will require use of data science. Similarly, in industries, a lot of things will start automating. As an example, your customer service, for example, right? Now, most companies have reduced their customer support to probably 10 or 20% of what they used to have 4 or 5 years ago. And all of that 70-80% of the work is now being taken by AI, right? So you have these chat bots, as well as, things like your Siri and Amazon Alexa and so on, right? They are answering the common queries people have. And many of those things will continue to happen. Similarly, in industries, all of the laborious repetitive work is being done by machines. In warehouses, extracting a particular object or storing things and so on. Most of the warehouses of big companies, they have automated. Similarly, with the advent of 5G, there will be much more and more automation, because then systems can interact at a rapid pace. So many companies, even in India, are experimenting with things like drone delivery, also automated trucks within the factory campuses and so on, right? All of this requires data science and artificial intelligence, and this trend will continue to grow. So I don't see, how we will ever have lower need for data science or data engineering. I think this will continue to grow. So that's my long answer to your short question.
Well, it explains everything. The importance or the significance of data science and, of course, data scientists in coming future, as the data is going to be exponentially grow. So I mean, no one can deny the possibility of data science growth as well. Okay. So what one has to learn for data to become a data scientist? I mean, obviously, you mentioned some of the tools, some of the algorithms like machine learning algorithms, set up the algorithms one has to learn. But if you care to bullet all the skills that one data scientist has to possess, then how would you bullet them?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. As I was mentioning earlier, there's no fixed definition of what data science is, right? Every company understands it differently. From my perspective, what I would say is there is some core knowledge of data science, and then there are auxiliary things, right? So data science is now becoming very, very specialized. So when companies hire data scientists, they would hire a few generalists, but then they will hire a lot more specialists, right? To give you an example, let's say a company wants to build a chatbot, right? So they will obviously need people who can do data cleaning and analysis and so on. But then beyond that, they will also be looking for some specialist who can do work in natural language processing, right? So they will look for people with that kind of specialized skill in NLP. So for someone who is getting into the field, what I would say is take this as it's not something that one can learn within a few weeks or a few months, right? So probably look at a horizon of 7 to 8 months, probably a year, The initial 2 or 3 months, I would say, focus more on programming. So certain things like SQL and Python are important. You can also look at R, but Python is the one which is most popular right now, and SQL, right? So SQL for data querying, and Python for data analysis, munging, visualization, and machine learning. Okay. So the first thing is programming, and then in that programming, how do you apply that for data analysis? So that is important. So learn data analysis, data munging, data wrangling, visualizing data, and so on. After that, probably it would be wise to look at and revise some of the mathematical concepts around statistics and probability. A little bit of linear algebra and calculus is useful as well. Statistics is very, very important because the whole base of data science is built on statistics. So that is important. And then once you have a good knowledge of that, probably then jump onto machine learning, look at the classical machine learning algorithms like your linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, and then some ensemble techniques like gradient boosted machines and random forest and things like that, and probably SVM as well. And then eventually, after you understand that, then only go to learn deep learning or artificial intelligence, right? And these are all the basic things, right? So this is the core knowledge. Beyond that, it also requires knowledge of applying these to specific industries, right? So taking a problem from, let's say, you want to specialize in supply chain, right? So look at the problems around supply chain and then understand how to apply data science to that problem and so on. Okay. Or if somebody wants to not get into a specific industry but be a more generic but specialize more on functional knowledge, so it could be learning more about computer vision and the latest libraries around that and how to apply computer vision, or maybe NLP and looking at the recent libraries in NLP and how to apply NLP and some of the pre-trained models like Chat GPT and so on. Right. So all of this is probably a 1 to 1.5 year journey. Start with the basics, start with the core data analysis, munging, visualization, statistics, and then core machine learning algorithms. These are the most important things to start with. Once you have got a good hold of that, learning other things on top of it becomes much, much easier.
Okay, so yeah, a whole lot of things to learn to become a data scientist, and of course, statistics is not an easy thing to learn. I mean, it's a full subject, and I remember it has so many things, parameter estimation, distribution function, so many things, and probability theory is altogether. Okay, so yeah, quite challenging, quite challenging. Oh, okay, but one is courageous enough to opt this career of data science, and eventually, you become a data scientist. Then, what would be the salary likely to be in corporate and in companies? What is the range? I mean, how it varies.
Probably this is the most question for listeners, right? So, see, there's a big gap in the industry for between demand and supply of good data scientists, right? And I'm specifically saying good data scientists. Okay.
Good data scientist. Yeah.
So if you're a good data scientist, and above average to an excellent data scientist, there are tremendous number of jobs available for you. Companies are always looking for this, right? So in IT as well as in data science, what happens is, one good person is probably equivalent to 3 average people, right? So, that's the trend. So companies are ready to pay a premium for people who are really good, right? So the first thing you have to make sure is you make yourself really good, okay? Salaries range a lot. And the reason is, as I said, data science is not particularly defined. So a lot of companies will do regular analysis and call it a data science role, whereas a product company will actually do real data science work, and they will, getting into those companies will be difficult as well, right? And that's why the salaries would be much, much higher. So traditionally, if you look at, if I have to put a number, services companies, right, the likes of your Infosys and TCS and Accenture and so on in India specifically, the average salary of a data scientist would anywhere be between, let's say, 12 lakhs to 15, 16 lakhs, right? This is at a 3 to 4 years of experience. A fresher would probably get 7 to 8 lakhs of salary. Okay. In product companies, so product companies like Google and Facebook, and probably even companies who have their own captives here. Okay, those companies, the salaries for data scientists can go, to from a fresher could probably be offered something like 20 lakhs, right? And someone with 4 to 5 years of experience and who is good can potentially earn 40 to 50 lakhs as well. Okay, so it all depends. It depends on the kind of company you are going and the level of expertise you have. It's a wide range, but it pays handsomely. Okay, so that's what it is.
Of course, quite.
Also, one thing to keep in mind is in this field, one has to continuously upgrade themselves, right? So it cannot be that today I do a code, that's all that is, right? It's an evolving field, so you have to keep on learning newer algorithms, newer libraries, newer programming languages. Python is very, very popular now, but 5 years ago, R was more popular. 10 years ago, SAS was the most popular programming language in analytics and so on, right? So every 5 to 6 years, technology changes. So people have to keep pace with that. So that's important as well.
Could you tell to our viewers about AccelerateAI, the startup you started some years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and how did it get started, and what are the programs you offer? Of course, AccelerateAI is all about educating data science, good data science to the enthusiast. So tell us about the programs and what kind of courses, what are the durations of those courses, and if one is willing to learn, then how much person has to afford or has to pay for those programs.
Yeah, so this is a question very close to my heart, right? This is my passion and day and night. So at AccelerateAI, we focus on two kinds of customer segment, I would say. One is corporates, so we provide trainings to corporates, primarily in the basic data science, because that's where we see most of the need, right? So it's programming language, it's industry specific data science, data science in the field of financial analytics, or data science applied to logistics and supply chain and so on. Okay, so that's one part of our work. The second one is where we work with professionals and students who are new to this field and who want to get into data science, right? So for them, we provide online courses. There are live online courses as well as pre-recorded online courses as well. Yeah, so this is a question which is very close to my heart, right? Because this is what I do day in and day out. So we have two classes of customers. One is the corporate entities. So to corporate entities, we provide on-campus trainings for their employees, both for employees who have joined newly as well as experienced employees, right? These trainings are usually shorter in duration, 3 to 4 days, and we provide industry-specific training. So things like supply chain analytics or training in data science for financial services and how it is applied there, or for manufacturing and so on. Okay, so that's one stream of our work. The other is where our customer base is students and working professionals who want to transition into data science. So these are people who are new to data science and want to learn about it. For them, we have modular programs. So these programs are not very long. They are usually short programs, typically ranging between 1 month to 3 months. and each module covers one specific area, right? As an example, if someone wants to get started with Python, we have a module where people can learn about data analysis in Python. Okay, similarly, then they can learn about the maths involved within data science and deep learning. So that's about 6 weeks long and so on. Then we have programs on machine learning and so on. These are, again, they are very modular. So they go on till about 3 or 4 months and so on. Okay, specific topics like time series forecasting is not something everybody needs, but if someone wants to learn more about time series forecasting specifically, they can take that module separately and so on, right? So for individuals, we have very modular programs. All of those are available on a different brand that we have. It is called ML Pro. So our website is mlpro.in. This is where people can go and look at these courses. To individuals, we provide both online courses as well as pre-recorded courses. Because many a times people may not always be available in order to take these online courses when they are delivered, right? So that's why some of our courses are also pre-recorded, so people can take it whenever they are available. In certain cases, people may be interested more in doing live trainings. So we also have 100% live trainings. Those live trainings are also recorded as well, and those sessions are available. Our focus is on providing quality training at a very, very reasonable cost, right? So whereas most of the ed tech companies, if you see, will charge anywhere between 3 to 5 lakhs for data science training, our cost is in the range of 20,000 to 50,000. So it ranges something like that, right? The modular courses, 1 month course is typically cost at 4 to 5,000 rupees for the live ones, and for the recorded ones, they are of course very, very cheap as well. Okay, so
Okay,
that's
yeah.
about our organization, Dinesh. And your second question was, how did I get into this one, right? So I spent a lot of my time in the past 7 or 8 years hiring data scientists in all of my past organizations, right? And hiring data scientists was quite a tough challenge. We realized that the supply of good data scientists is very, very limited. The number of good courses in the country is very small. A lot of people do either self-learning or get into some of these institutes who are there just to make money, right? Not to teach people. And when people go in those institutes and get trained, they do not know that those trainings are not at a kind of depth that is required to do actual work in the industry. So seeing that sad situation, I, along with one of my partners, decided to do something about this situation, right? That is where we started AccelerateAI. So our programs are very, very in-depth. They prepare people for that, make them ready day one for doing a job in an industry, right? Where they will be able to handle big data, write good modular code, be able to deploy models on the cloud and so on, right? So these all things are very, very important, as well as we teach the underlying maths and explain to them, how these algorithms work, where they will not work and so on. And people do a lot of practice with raw data. And that's where, most of the work in data science goes as well, right? It's not about the modeling itself. Modeling is probably 10 to 15% of the effort. It's about preparing the data, understanding the data, understanding the business problem. This takes about 80% of the effort in an industry, right? So our focus is on all these things and making people aware what they will need to do in order to be successful as a data scientist. So that is why we came up with this thought of starting a data science training company where we will be able to do justice to that and help people achieve their career goals.
Right. Just one follow-up question in the sequence of what we are talking about. Internship is an integral or an important part of a course students or any enthusiast taking the course or program on. So is AccelerateAI helping students to get some sort of internship from companies or kind of some live problem or some case studies are also part of those programs, and you facilitate
right. So we do not partner with other corporations, right? So we, from that perspective, it's see, our customer base is people who want to come and learn data science, right? So we are slightly different from an academic setting. So we do not provide that kind of an internship, but all of our courses have real life data that we have got, either from other companies or from case studies or from research papers and so on. So we have curated, those projects to replicate the real life situation that happens in an industry, and people work on those data, right? We do not work with toy data set at all. All of our data will be massive. The smallest data set that we'll have will be probably 20 or 30,000 data points and so on, right? So that's how we start, and then there'll be for someone who wants to really work with big data and so on, we have gigabytes of data as well for all of that, right? And most of this data is completely raw. People will have to get their hands dirty, understand what the features are, do a lot of feature engineering and so on. So our teaching is all case based. We use real industry data. Of course, this is we have removed the confidentiality part, right? So we do not work with things like healthcare data and so on, which are very sensitive. But in general, retail data and marketing data and supply chain and all of those are fairly easily available today on the internet, right? There are websites like Kaggle, and even Google has their own data sets. AWS has a lot of good data sets available and so on. So we utilize all of those kind of data sets for our training.
We have received all the information that we were looking for, and I strongly believe that AccelerateAI is doing very good service in preparing good data science. And we will be looking forward to you for other webinars and online sessions in future.
Sure, Dinesh. Thank you so much for having me here, and all the best to your foundation. You're doing a great job. Thank you as well.
Okay. Bye-bye.